located at 25 East Main Street in downtown Fredonia. The Upper Crust Bakery offers food for carnivores and food for tree huggers, as well as baked goods and lunches, all made from scratch. Full espresso and hot and cold drinks are available. Open 7 days a week, Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and Saturday and Sunday from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Upper Crust Bakery, located at 25 East Main Street, downtown Fredonia, now accepting Fred funds. For more information, call 672-2253.
Afternoon, Dunkirk and Fredonia, and welcome to this week's snowed-in edition of High Noon Friday, being broadcast on WCVF 88.9 FM, The Voice, and WDVL 89.5, The Inferno. Today's show is also being broadcast worldwide at FredoniaRadio.com. Today is Friday, February 26, 2010. My name is Jessey Drake.
And joining her, as always, my name is Logan Howard. Good morning, Jessey.
Good morning, Logan.
How do you feel to... We're not on the couch together anymore.
We are not. We're trying a little something different.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have a good show because of that. All right, well, coming up on today's show, we'll have an exclusive interview with Congressman Brian Higgins. He visited campus this week to talk to students about his trip to Afghanistan. Also on today's show, we will talk to Stephen Powell, who has been in Whistler, Canada for the past 2 weeks working as a video journalist for the Olympic Games. As always, we will provide a science and technology update, this week's music review, a look at what's going on in Fredonia this weekend, and dance move of the week. Can't wait for that one. So stay tuned, sit back, and enjoy the ride. This is High Noon Friday.
And now it's time for your High Noon Friday news. It's Judgment Day for Thaksin Shinawatra. Right now, Thailand's Supreme Court is deciding whether to seize part of the former Prime Minister's fortune. Popular, powerful, and polarizing, he made much of his money in telecommunications. $2.3 billion of his assets are frozen in Thailand. Most of that is from the controversial sale of the family company, ShinCorp, to the Singaporean government. He was the first elected Prime Minister in 2001 and won a second term in 2005. In 2006, he was ousted in a military coup after being accused of corruption and abuse of power. Thaksin and his wife went into self-imposed exile in the UK. He continued to play a role in politics even from outside the country. They returned to Thailand in 2007, but it was a brief stay after they were both convicted on corruption charges.
Chinese authorities have stepped up rescue efforts after an earthquake Thursday injured at least 29 people in southwest China's Yunnan province. At least 100 schools, 72 hospitals, and thousands of homes were damaged in the quake. Thousands of tents were delivered to the quake-hit areas overnight, along with quilts, clothing, food, and drinking water. The People's Libertarian Army's Shindao Military Area Command has sent more than 700 soldiers to help in the rescue. By Friday morning, the soldiers had evacuated more than 3,000 residents from damaged homes to tents. They also dismantled nearly 100 perilously standing buildings, lest they collapse and cause further casualties.
The Shamu shows at SeaWorld in Orlando have closed for now, after a trainer was killed just before one of the performances. On Wednesday, a whale named Tilikum grabbed trainer Don Branshaw by the hair and dragged her underwater in front of stunned onlookers. The Orange County Medical Examiner says the 40-year-old likely died from multiple traumatic injuries and drowning. Tilikum, weighing about 12,000 pounds, has been linked to 2 other deaths. He and 2 other whales were involved in the 1991 drowning of a trainer at the marine park in British Columbia. In 1999, SeaWorld officials found a man dead in the whale tank at the park. Authorities said the man stayed in the park after closing and apparently fell into the tank.
President Obama paid tribute to some of the nation's top artists Thursday. He awarded the National Medal of Arts and National Humanities Medals in a ceremony at the White House. The 20 recipients included singer Bob Dylan, actor Clint Eastwood, actress Rita Moreno, soprano Jessey Norman, and artist Frank Stella. Mr. Obama singled out a few people who had made a profound effect on his life and that of the entire nation, including architect Maya Lin. Lin designed the National Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington. Author and activist Elie Wiesel received a National Humanities Medal for his work in educate people on the Holocaust. President Obama arrived at the ceremony following Thursday's healthcare reform summit. And that is all for our High Noon News. Now, joining us live in the studio will be Keith Krofsky with today's weather.
The Northern Chicago Weather Update, being brought to you by Fredonia Radio Systems.
Good afternoon, Logan and Jessey. Today, right now it's 25 degrees. We're going to go up to about 33 degrees with snow. Snow will be developing around noon, which is right now, and will accumulate to about an inch. Tonight, we're going to see a low of 30 with, you guessed it, more snow.
All right, thanks, Keith. Now let's see what's happening in the world of sports, Logan, shall we?
Let's see.
All right. In Vancouver, the second week of the Olympics saw many surprises, including the upset of Team Canada by Team USA in men's ice hockey on Sunday. In the quarterfinals, the U.S. squeezed by Switzerland by a score of 2-0 on Wednesday afternoon. USA goalie Ryan Miller posted his first shutout of the tournament, but only had to face 19 shots versus his 45 shots against Canada. The U.S. has advanced to the semifinals to face off against Sweden today at 3 p.m., and if they win today, they would advance to the gold medal game on Sunday against either Canada or Slovakia.
Last night in women's ice hockey, Canada defeated the U.S. by a score of 2-0 to capture the gold medal for the third consecutive Olympics. The U.S. settled for silver and Finland captured the bronze.
Also in women's skiing, American Lindsey Vonn wiped out Wednesday in the first run of the women's giant slalom, breaking her pinky finger and ruining American teammate Julia Mancuso's chances of medaling. Vaughn, who originally came into Vancouver with a leg injury, will now ski in the women's slalom event with a broken pinky tonight at 8 p.m.
Tonight's action will also see men's and women's speed skating at 3:30, the women's gold medal game in curling at 6 p.m., men's four-man bobsled at 8 p.m., and men's short track also at 8 p.m. Okay, so what's happening in the world of science and technology? Let's check in with Eric Waldorf for This Week in Science to find out. You are listening to High Noon
Science. Hello and welcome to This Week in Science. A new dinosaur has been discovered. A team of paleontologists has discovered a new dinosaur they are calling a Bidosaurus, which belongs to long-necked groups of dinosaurs such as the Brachiosaurus. 4 skulls were discovered while excavating fossils from the Cedar Mountain Formation in Dinosaur National Monument near Vernal, Utah. This is one of the few times the skull of a dinosaur has been the first bone discovered. The name Abydosaurus comes from the Greek name for the city along the Nile River, Abydos. It was said to be the burial place of the head and neck of Osiris. This alludes to where the specimen was found, in a quarry overlooking the Green River. A massive planet is on its death march. A large planet outside of our solar system, WASP-12b, is entering its final state of life. This is the first time that astronomers are witnessing the ongoing disruption and death march of a planet, says UC Santa Cruz professor Douglas N.C. Lin. Research is being led by Xu Lin Li of the National Astronomical Observatories of China. This team is observing how the gravity of its parent star is inflating its size and spurring its rapid dissolution. The planet is 80% larger than Jupiter, with a daytime temperature of more than 2,500 degrees Celsius. Just as the moon's gravity pulls tides on the Earth, WASP-12b's host star is doing the same, but at much higher proportions. The gravity is continuously deforming the planet, making it almost the shape of a rugby ball. The tide is causing friction, which is causing internal or tidal heating. The planet is currently losing a mass at a rate of 6 billion metric tons a second. Doctors have given the planet about 10 million years to live. That's it for This Week in Science. I'm Eric, and this is High Noon Friday.
Monday through Friday, tune in to National Public Radio twice a day as WCVF presents NPR's Morning Edition and All Things Considered. Stay up to date and informed on breaking issues and stories affecting you. NPR's Morning Edition at 7 a.m. and All Things Considered at 4 p.m. Monday through Friday, right here on The Voice. Made possible by the generosity of United University Professions, the Northern Chautauqua Community Foundation, and listeners like you.
High Noon Friday. It's live, it's local, and it's for you.
All right, we're joined in studio right now with Stephen Powell on High Noon Friday. How are you, Stephen?
I'm doing well, thanks. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got you great. Thank you so much for joining us here from Vancouver, British Columbia for the Olympics.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Of course.
So, Stephen, tell us how the atmosphere is in Vancouver right now.
Oh, well, I tell you, it's been very, very festive. The Canadians have been having a blast. They're doing a lot better than they had expected to, I think. Mm-hmm. They had this Own the Podium campaign, which early on in the games, they weren't quite doing so well overall, but they've been picking up. They won the women's hockey gold medal the other day. They've been doing a lot in the sliding sports. They've been doing well just all across the board. So for a country of 30 million people, they've been getting an awful lot of medals.
Great. So you mentioned the women's hockey being a big thing, considering they just took the gold for that. So how's the coverage for the men's hockey been in relation to other sports up there?
Yeah, they've been getting a fairly good amount of coverage. Believe it or not, curling has been getting a lot of coverage.
Mm-hmm. I believe it. I see it.
An interesting sport.
I believe it. We see it on. I see it on TV all the time.
It's always there.
It is always there.
Oh my! I don't quite understand it. But yeah. I mean, mentally, I'm sure it's challenging. It's sort of like a mix between pool and bowling, except you're doing it on ice.
Or shuffleboard.
Actually, that's basically it.
Yeah.
But it's been wall-to-wall coverage up here in the region on the local network stations and things as far as Olympic coverage in general. I mean, that's all that's going on. That it's been people are just out in the streets jam-packed wearing flags. It's sort of like Super Bowl atmosphere.
I can imagine. So, Stephen, what's your day-to-day activities up there?
Well, it's sort of like night and day activities. I work as a video journalist producer for the United States Olympic Committee, and basically I start by tracking all the medals and the athletes of the people that are in my region. I'm up in Whistler, so I get the bobsled, the luge, the alpine downhill, the Nordic combined skeleton competitions. So we've had some pretty amazing stuff happen as far as, Bodie Miller, the downhill skier, has got one of each medal. He's got a bronze, a silver, a gold. And I cover, interviewing the athletes as they medal on a one-on-one sit-down up at the USA House, which is the hospitality house. And then I also cover the press conferences as, I film those, and as well as ask them questions at press conferences too. And then I get all that and I edit it together into a short form video, which I don't know if you guys have seen the little blog that I've kept, but it just has some of the updates. And then the videos are sent up to the networks and to teamusa.org.
Wow, it really sounds like a lot.
Awesome.
It sounds great. You mentioned Bodie Miller and the downhill skiing. Speaking of U.S. skiers, Lindsey Vonn broke her pinky on Wednesday, but will still be running the women's slalom event tonight. How's reaction been from the crowds with her up there and with her up and down performances on the slopes this year?
Well, it's funny. There's been an awful lot of expectation put on her for this. She's regarded as arguably the greatest female skier ever. But I don't think she actually broke the pinky. I think it was she hurt it or something, or broke her finger. It did not break, though, as far as I remember. When I interviewed her last week before that happened. But the tracks up here, I mean, like right now, it's kind of raining and snowing at the same time. And as you get to the even higher, we're at about 3,000 feet. And then by the time you get up to where they are, they're probably, 5, 6, 7,000 feet. So the track conditions are changing so fast that, by the time they start a run, 10 minutes later, the conditions are different. And so, the Canadians kind of disproportionately cover Canadian athletes. They're not as in tune as perhaps us Americans are about our own Lindsey Vonn. But yeah, she's definitely the big hit of the parade. Between her, Bodie Miller, and Apollo Ono, they're definitely the guys that everybody wants to talk to. Their schedules are incredibly jammed up. So the reaction is, I guess, a lot of hope. They should be running in about an hour, local time.
Wow.
Okay, nice.
How has the weather affected your reporting?
For me, fortunately, I don't have to go up on the slopes. The way the broadcasting works up here is there's an organization called OBS, the Olympic Broadcast Service. So they're the ones with all the cameras, all the Panasonic sponsoring the game. So they have Panasonic cameras everywhere. And then they have these cables that feed down to the bottom of the hills that then go to a transmission center that are then sent over to NBC. So NBC really doesn't run the when you see all the cameras of the hockey games or the bobsleds going down, that's handled by their own organization, which then distributes that electronic signal out. What I do is I do the kind of sideline stuff where, Julia Mancuso, grabs 2 silver medals. We do sit-down interviews with her. We set her up for the Oprah show, Today Show, and we did a spot for Visa with them. So, it's kind of a mixed bag, but mostly I'm doing the one-on-ones in a controlled environment. So the only time it affects me is when I have to haul my camera gear from place to place to place.
Right. But with the weather, that has caused a lot of lots of delays and even some cancellations for viewers being able to see events close up. I know that happened with the snowboarding half pipe, and there have been delays for the sleds and the luge and soft ice on the hockey rinks. Do delays like that affect your reporting at all, or the way
totally.
that anything like that happens?
Yeah, those delays throw a monkey wrench. Sometimes they kind of give me a break to get caught up. Like, we got a gold medal and a silver medal in the Nordic combined, which is a little-known sport in North America, but it's where these guys do the big, those big ski jumps, and they go down the huge ski jumps, and then they're rated on that, so they get a score. Then they change into a different pair of skis, and they have to do a cross-country ski race, which is like running with boards strapped to your feet. And the combined performance determines who wins. And so we took a gold medal and a silver medal yesterday, and there is a Western New York connection. Chris Loricella was one of the instructors at the National Sports Academy for the young man that took the gold, whose name escapes me at the moment. But so it's the weather really kind of welcome to planning something for 4 years and being at the mercy of the weather. Right. They have every contingency. They've been putting salt into the snow. They've been putting pine boughs into the snow, hay. They have been doing all these weird high-tech tricks to try to make it keep the events going.
Right.
It's definitely warmer here than even up in the mountains. Sort of like Ellicottville on steroids up here. And so, but it's much warmer. I mean, right now it's probably 43 degrees Fahrenheit. Wow.
That's even warmer than it is here.
Down in Vancouver, where I'm going for the last 2 days of the Olympics, it's in the 50s routinely.
I wish it was the 50s here.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's even colder here. Wow.
It's freezing.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's been cold. I've been kind of like watching the weather in both cities, for the past 2 months, and it's like crazy. They should have the Olympics in Buffalo, except I don't know that I'd want to have the Olympics in Western.
Yeah, bring it down to Fredonia.
Of course.
Yeah, transportation is amazingly difficult.
All right, Stephen. So one last question.
Sure.
What was your reaction to the women's Canadian team smoking cigars and drinking on the ice?
Well, this is Canada, and I do notice that they handle things different morally. So, I try not to, condone those kind of behaviors, but at the same time, it's a big moment for them. Cigars are symbolic. People don't seem to habitually smoke them. They smell bad. So I guess it's the type of thing where I think it's a cultural difference. I think any American athlete seen with a cigar or a cigarette or any kind of thing like that, I don't think would go over very well.
All right. Yes, I understand. Well, thank you so much, Stephen, for being able to come and talk to us. And it's been great having you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your time up there, and I hope everything goes well.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to getting back to Buffalo and getting out of this intensity mode. So thanks a lot for having me on, guys.
All right. Thank you, Stephen.
Okay. Take care.
You too.
You too.
All right. You're listening to High Noon Friday on WCVF and WDVL at SUNY Fredonia. We'll be right back.
Good afternoon, radio friends, and welcome to this week's edition of Katie's Kitchen on High Noon Friday. I'm Katie Fuchs, and this week we're going to be making a healthy smoothie that is high in protein and vitamins, and although it's sweet, there's actually no artificial sugars in this recipe. All of the sugar comes naturally from the fruits and honey that are included. Alright, the ingredients you're going to need for this smoothie include a half a cup of fruit juice, and I would suggest using a 100% fruit juice that doesn't have any added sweeteners. You're also going to need a half a package of silken tofu. Make sure you get the silken or extra soft tofu because the firm tofu won't be very good for this recipe. Next, you're going to need 1 cup of frozen and unthawed fruits. I really like the combination of peaches and berries, but use what you like. The possibilities are virtually endless. The last thing you will need is a little bit of honey for added sweetness. You can just eyeball it out of the bottle, that's what I would do, and a small squeeze should be good enough. You can always add more later on if you like a sweeter smoothie. The hardware you're going to need is simply a blender and a cup, and maybe a straw. To make this smoothie, all you have to do is put all the ingredients into your blender and blend on high until it's smooth. It's really that simple. And a little disclaimer about this recipe, it's approximate. You may find that you prefer a thicker smoothie, so you're going to need more frozen fruit or a few cubes of ice. And if your smoothie comes out too thick, add some more juice. Also, don't be afraid to play around with the ingredients. If you're not ready to tackle tofu quite yet, use some low-fat yogurt instead. Keep in mind, if you want to use fresh, unfrozen fruits, you'll need to add some ice to the blender as a thickener. With all of these customization options, it's easy to make a smoothie that anybody will like, and a smoothie that you can really drink any time in the day, from breakfast all the way to dessert. Until next time, enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you soon on High Noon Friday.
Decades on the air. Countless awards won. Northern Chautauqua's very own High Noon Friday.
This is High Noon Friday on Fredonia Radio Systems. Now it's time for this weekend's box office roundup with The Bill and the Bear.
Welcome to the Bill and the Bear movie review. I'm Bill.
And I'm the Bear.
Here are your weekend box office numbers. At number 5 this week was The Wolfman with $9.9 million. Number 4 this week was Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief with $15.3 million. And number 3 this week was Avatar with $16.2 million. And number 2 this week was Valentine's Day with $16.7 million. And number 1 this week was Shutter Island with $41.1 million.
Now let's see what films we have opening this week. First off, we have The Crazies, directed by Breck Eisner. The film tells the age-old story of a toxin mutating the residents of Oakton Marsh into bloodthirsty killers. It's been done before, but what hasn't? The film has potential, but they'll have to pull off something extremely innovative to make it unique. Next, we have Cop Out, directed by Kevin Smith. Why, Kevin? Why? The film is a buddy cop movie in the same vein as the Rush Hour franchise, starring Bruce Willis as the hard-nosed cop and Tracy Morgan as the wisecracking comic relief. The film looks to be predictable, hokey, and makes me wonder who decided this would be a good idea. Lastly, we have Defendor, opening exclusively in Los Angeles. The film was directed by actor-turned-director Peter Stebbings. The film stars Woody Harrelson as the superhero Defendor, whose only wish is to rid his city of drugs, weapons, and the crime lord known as Captain Industry. An interesting, yet laid-back superhero story. And now, moving on to your horror movie of the week, courtesy of Night of the Living Fred.
Trick or Treat is a direct-to-DVD film told as a series of interwoven short stories, all based on Halloween. Influences from graphic novels are evident in the writing, editing, and gore as we see stories of a school principal who moonlights as a serial killer, or a haunted school bus of criminally insane children, and many others. With fantastic storytelling, shocking plot twists, and phenomenal gore, Trick or Treat is easily the best direct-to-DVD horror film ever made, and is criminally underappreciated. This should be required viewing for every Halloween. That should wrap up this edition of the Bill and the Bear movie review. Once again, I'm Bill.
And I'm the Bear.
Back to you in the studio.
You're listening to Western New York's one and only variety radio show, High Noon Friday, on WCVF 88.9 The Voice and WDBL 89.5 The Inferno.
High Noon Friday Music Charts. This is Jill Heiser for High Noon Friday with this week's music chart. We start off this week with the top 10 off the Billboard Hot 100 chart. Coming in number 10 is Trey Songz with Say Ah. And number 9 this week, Jason Derulo with In My Head. Number 8, Ludacris with How Low. Coming in number 7 is Trey and Hey Soul Sister. Coming in at number 6 is We Are the World for Haiti by various artists. And number 5 this week, Bedrock by Young Money. Number 4, Lady Antebellum, Need You to Know. Coming in number 3 this week, Lady Gaga with Bad Romance. Coming in number 2, after falling from 6 weeks at number 1, is Kesha with TikTok. And our brand new number 1 song on the Billboard Hot 100 chart this week is the Black Eyed Peas with I'ma Be. Coming up next, we switched it up this week and we're taking a look at the top 10 songs off the Billboard UK chart. Coming in number 10 is Starstruck by 303. Coming in number 9 is Halo Walking on Sunshine by the Glee cast. And number 8, L'Amour with The Way Love Goes. And number 7, Don't Stop Believin' by the Glee cast. Number 6, Rihanna with Rude Boy. Coming in number 5, Jay-Z and Alicia Keys with Empire State of Mind. At number 4, If We Ever Meet Again by Timbaland. And number 3, We Are the World for Haiti by various artists. Coming in number 2, Florence, You Got the Dirty Love. And coming in at number 1 this week is Owl City with Fireflies.
You would not believe your eyes if 10 million fireflies lit up the world as I fell asleep.
Now let's take a look at the top 5 CDs that WCVF 88.9 The Voice added this week on the CMJ chart. Coming number 5 is OK Go with Of the Blue Color of the Sky. And number 4 is Crime with Stereo, I Was Trying to Describe You to Someone. And number 3 this week, Vampire Weekend with Contra. Coming in number 2 is Joan of Arc with Don't Mind Control. And sitting up top, number 1 for the 3rd week in a row is the Motion City soundtrack with My Dinosaur Life. Now for a new segment this week on High Noons Friday's Music Charts, we look back at what song was number one this week 10 years ago. The number one song for this day 10 years ago was I Knew I Loved You by Savage Garden.
Maybe it's intuition, but some things you just don't question.
Finally, we take a look at what CDs are coming out next week that we think you should check out. Jamie Foxx has a new CD out, Body. Gorillaz also has a new one, The Plastic Beach. Liars with Sister World. And Pavement releases their best of album, The Best of Pavement. Taking a look at this week's charts for High Noon Friday, I'm Judd Heisler.
Okay, we're back here on High Noon Friday, fortunate enough to be joined in studio by Congressman Brian Higgins, who represents New York's 27th District, which includes most of Erie County and all of Chautauqua County. Good afternoon, Congressman. Thank you so much for being here today.
Good to be here with you guys on High Noon.
Thank you.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing well.
It's good.
It's good. Are you enjoying your visit to SUNY Fredonia so far?
I am. I just got here. We're going to be over at the Williams Center after our interview here and talking with some students and some people from the community about not only domestic policy, what's going on in the country, but also what's going on in the world as well.
Cool. Very cool. So you're here today, as you said, speaking about many of those things that we will get involved in later, and also the U.S.'s involvement in the Middle East.
Yeah.
So fill us in a little bit on what you saw when you were last over in Afghanistan in the Middle East.
I spent 5 days in Afghanistan, in Kabul and Kandahar. The day after Christmas, I left and came back New Year's Day. And quite sobering. It's not the first time I've been to Afghanistan, but it's a very tough country. It's among the poorest and most corrupt countries on the face of the earth. Very high poverty rate, obviously, very high illiteracy rate, very few public institutions, very little public infrastructure. So it's definitely a nation-building project, and the United States is involved militarily there now in fighting Al-Qaeda and the Taliban.
So with the state of our affairs currently in Iraq and Afghanistan, what is your recommendation for the rest of Congress and President Obama?
Well, I don't have a recommendation per se. What I do try to do is visit these places. I've been to Iraq twice, and to just give an assessment as to how things are on the ground so that, people have good primary information about what we ought to be doing here. Let me just talk about Iraq for a little bit, if that's okay. Iraq is a nation of about 26 million people. It's oil rich. It was controlled by Saddam Hussein until the United States toppled him. Saddam was a Sunni Ba'athist. He was head of the Ba'athist party. Now the government is run by Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki, who's a Shia. There are elections scheduled for March 7th. The Sunni party, the majority Sunni party, is boycotting those elections. The war was going very badly. It's still a very, very difficult place for the first 4 years because the United States military was using a strategy called kill and capture. They were basically operating out of large forward operating bases, and they would go out in the neighborhoods and patrol them for a couple of hours a day. In tanks and Humvees, but there was no relationship with the population. So in large part, a lot of the people there cut a deal with the Sunni insurgency because they were in the neighborhoods all day. And so the United States changed their strategy to what's referred to as counter-insurgency. It's clear, hold, and build. Develop a relationship with the population toward the goal of not killing the Taliban, but to make them irrelevant or to neutralize them. And that strategy has at least worked in tamping down the violence in Iraq. The problem is the surge strategy, the counterinsurgency strategy, was done to provide a breathing room wherein the political parties, Shia, Sunni, and Kurd, could reconcile their political differences and all of the other issues that they need to resolve to exist peacefully, coexist peacefully. That hasn't occurred yet, and the problem is that those issues still may be resolved violently.
So you're finding all these types of problems that have just been developing over in Iraq and, like you said, Afghanistan. Have there been other countries that you've visited that have the same type of economic development, like projects and problems?
Yeah.
Such as those countries?
The reason I bring up Iraq first is because what we did in Iraq to tamp down violence is exactly what we're doing in Afghanistan today. And Afghanistan's a very, very poor country. Kabul is Afghanistan's about 32 million people. The literacy rate is about 20% for the entire country. It's very, very poor, probably the poorest country on the face of the earth, and it's also very corrupt. The problem is with counterinsurgency being used in Afghanistan as well, in order for it to succeed, you need reliable partners. You need a functioning government that can help build institutions, to educate its people, to make it a more functioning society. You don't have that. So after traveling and visiting with President Karzai at the presidential palace in Kabul, I traveled down to Kandahar, which is in the southern area of the country. Afghanistan has 34 provinces. It's broken up into 34 provinces. In the south, in Kandahar and Helmand province, is where the Taliban's spiritual and financial center is, primarily because that's where all the poppy fields are and the heroin fields. And the Taliban funds its operations due to the heroin trade. They don't own the fields, but they preside over it, they charge protection, they tax it, and it provides the Taliban with about $500 million a year in operating expenses. So that's ground zero, that's the epicenter of Taliban activity in the south of Afghanistan because of the poppy trade. So the United States in the town of Marja in Helmand province is undertaking a major offensive to weed out the Taliban, to put what they refer to as government in a box there, a pre-established government. So again, is to make the population, the non-Taliban population in those areas irrelevant, and to build trust amongst the people so they can begin to create somewhat a semblance of a functioning society. It's very easy to describe. It is very, very complicated to execute.
You're listening to High Noon Friday on WCVF and WDVL. In studio, we have Congressman Brian Higgins, who represents the New York's 27th District. We asked our listeners, Congressman, to submit some questions, and here are a few submissions. In Chautauqua County, many local elections run uncontested, leaving the same politicians in the same positions election after election. What do you feel about being represented in this way at the local level, and what can you do to encourage more people to run in local elections?
Well, to say that you end up with the same people, it's like anything else. In any subset of society, you have good, effective people, and then you have some that aren't that effective. I understand and believe there's good reason for people to be frustrated with government and the status quo. In the short time that I've served in the United States Congress, we have forced change in many, many ways. A lot of the fights that we have successfully waged on behalf of this community always started with no. We don't take no for an answer. We take that as a starting point to effect change. I used to be a teacher of history and economics at Buffalo State College and taught the economic history of Buffalo and Western New York. And 100 years ago, Buffalo and Western New York was among the strongest economies in the entire nation and the world because we took advantage of the things that are unique to us. An abundance of fresh water in Lake Erie gave us the ability to produce clean, cheap hydroelectricity. That electricity fueled Buffalo's rise and Western New York's rise as a major economic center. The problem is a lot of it was taken away from us. But the inspiring fact is that 100 years ago, you talk about the energy revolution and trying to encourage alternative energy sources. 100 years ago, we turned the natural environment into power. The problem is about 50 years ago, a lot of it was taken from us. So we're in the process of bringing a lot of that back. But I understand the frustration that people have. There is need for change. I think in areas like Buffalo and Western New York, change is most needed, but it's most difficult to achieve because everybody's set in their ways. Everybody becomes very territorial and retreats into themselves. And I think it's due to a lack of confidence. What we're trying to do with a lot of our initiatives is promote the area and encourage people to embrace change and take a leadership role.
Great. So moving on with another question that was submitted that kind of has to do with retaining our change and retaining our population here is how would you retain Western New York's postgraduate population from moving elsewhere?
Well, both the graduate population and the postgraduate population. The fact of the matter is, every year we graduate thousands of students here at Fredonia, Buffalo State College, the University of Buffalo, Canisius, Jamestown Community College, yet we don't have an economy that creates enough jobs to keep them here. So what is it that we need to do to change the economic environment, to make Western New York a more attractive place for private sector investment? I think you see that happening at the Buffalo Niagara Medical Campus, which is the integration of researchers, of academics, of practitioners, and it's creating a lot of opportunity for employment in the new economy in the 21st century. So it's those kinds of initiatives, improving the quality of life, and promoting Buffalo and Western New York as a good place to do business.
Okay, so what are the current healthcare options on the speaker's desk?
Well, healthcare is very, very complicated. Let me give you some context. Healthcare in this nation, in America, we spend about $2.5 trillion a year on healthcare. It's approximately 18% of the American economy is measured by the gross domestic product. We pay 50% more than any other industrialized nation for healthcare, and yet our outcomes are increasingly uninspiring. For example, we are rated 37th of 194 countries in overall quality. We're 41st out of 194 countries in infant mortality. We're dead last of any industrialized nation. Americans should be indignant that we are not getting better health care outcomes for the amount of money that we invest in health care. The good thing is there are examples of quality health care in the nation. The Cleveland Clinic is a place that delivers the highest quality care at the lowest possible cost. That's the health care that I want for my family. It's the health care I want for my community. And it's the health care that I want for my nation. And we can get there because there are already examples of high quality, low cost deliverers of health care.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Congressman. We'd really like to thank you, Congressman Higgins, for being in studio to talk to us about many of these current issues affecting the residents of Chautauqua and Erie counties and about what you will be speaking to us today. Thanks again, Mr. Higgins.
Great to be with you this Friday afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, you're listening to SUNY Fredonia's one and only variety show, High Noon Friday on WCVF 88.9 The Voice and WDVL 89.5 The Inferno.
When my parents got divorced, I was in a position where I felt like I had to be there for my mother. She had a daughter going to college. She was trying to get her degree herself, work, and keep her family from falling apart.
Ben didn't know how to get the money he needed for college, and then he found out about federal student aid.
I actually remember walking into the kitchen, and my mom is there, and she's got the, letter in front of her, and I read through it, and here, I've got my federal student aid award. I'm going to go to school.
Federal student aid made college and Ben's dreams possible.
I think you can dream big and you can think about what you want to do with your life, but eventually you're going to have to, build that bridge to the next step.
Need help paying for college? Go to federalstudentaid.ed.gov, an office of the U.S. Department of Education. Start here, go further.
My name is Ben, and this is my story.
Some odd news.
Here on High Noon Friday.
Yes. All right. This one's from North Carolina. A North Carolina man was sentenced to 3 days in jail for violating probation by leaving the state to appear on the Jerry Springer Show. The Gaston Gazette reported Thursday that Richard Peterson's probation officer spotted him on the TV program taped in Connecticut. The 30-year-old man and his girlfriend got an all-expense-paid trip to appear on the show where Peterson boasted about a one-night stand with a stripper. A video clip shows Peterson running around the stage, dodging swings from his girlfriend. While the couple fought, the stripper started twirling around a pole. The stripper and Peterson's girlfriend then turned on each other. Peterson was on probation for possession of marijuana and resisting an officer. He was in the Lincoln County Jail Thursday. A jail spokesman said Peterson has no listed attorney.
Oh my gosh, that story was so much better than I was even hoping for. All right, well, this one is from Indianapolis. An Indianapolis woman faces a theft charge for allegedly coaxing her 5-year-old daughter into stealing a woman's purse at a restaurant. According to a probable cause affidavit, a 24-year-old woman admitted asking her daughter to steal the purse February 14th at a Chuck E. Cheese restaurant. The woman allegedly told officers she pointed out the purse she wanted to her daughter and to take and urged her to do it for mommy when the victim wasn't looking. An arrest warrant, was issued Thursday for the woman who faces charges of theft and contributing to a delinquency of a minor. Her 27-year-old boyfriend faces theft and assisting a criminal charges. Police say that the woman's daughter brought the boyfriend the purse after taking it from a Chuck E. Cheese booth.
This one is from Dubai. The aquarium at the Dubai Mall, one of the world's largest and a symbol of Dubai's grandeur, is leaking and part of the mall has been evacuated, a police official said on Thursday. There was a small problem, a simple crack, and the water leaked, the official said, declining to be identified. One of the largest tanks in the world, the aquarium features the world's largest viewing panel at 107 7 inches wide and 8.3 meters high. Dubai Aquarium has been planned to have more than 33,000 living animals, representing more than 85 species, including over 400 sharks and rays combined, according to Dubai's mall website. A Reuters witness said the mall had been partly evacuated and dozens of emergency vehicles were outside the mall. Billed as one of the world's largest and operated by Emaar Properties. An Emaar spokeswoman confirmed it was investigating an incident at the mall due to the aquarium.
All right, well, this one comes out of Columbus, Georgia. Police in Georgia are searching for a pair of hungry bandits who stole an order of chicken wings from a pizza delivery driver. Columbus police say the 19-year-old Domino's driver was approached outside a home Tuesday night by two men who asked for money. One of the men pointed a chrome pistol. Police say one of the men said, "Give me the wings," then fled the scene with a $36 order. No cash was taken and the driver was not injured. But that'll probably increase the price of the next time I get chicken wings. That's a shame. Stealing chicken wings instead of money.
I love chicken wings.
I do too. All right. Well, that does it for our odd news here on High Noon Friday. And coming up next will be our High Noon Police Blotter.
Starting in the village of Fredonia, a woman was observed by a Walmart employee attempting to steal cosmetics. She was arrested for petty larceny and issued an appearance ticket.
At 12:02 a.m. on February 20th, a man was observed with an open container of beer. When officers approached him, he dropped the can into a snowbank. He was issued an appearance ticket for violation of open container laws, littering, and unlawful possession of alcohol.
At 1:17 a.m. on February 20th, 3 girls were found with open containers of alcohol in a car in a Sonny's parking lot. 4 girls were issued appearance tickets for violation of open container laws and unlawful possession of alcohol.
And at 1:50 a.m. on February 20th, a 19-year-old man was observed urinating in the parking lot of Darwin's Fitness. He was issued an appearance ticket for violation of sewer ordinance laws. Surprisingly,
there it is again.
I know, right? Surprisingly, it wasn't mixed and matched with underage drinking and open container laws again. Well, moving on to the university, what do you got for us, Jessey?
At 11:45 a.m. on February 14th, a resident student reported $40 missing from a wallet. An investigation is still ongoing.
At 12:40 p.m. on February 16th, a student reported that an iPod Touch and headphones had been stolen from a backpack in McEwen Hall, and an investigation is ongoing.
All right, that's it for the Police Blotter. Now we'll check in with Keith Kropsky, the weekend guy, for High Noon Friday event calendar.
Good afternoon, High Noon Friday listeners. It's Keith Kropsky, the weekend guy, and I'm here to tell you everything that's going on in northern Chautauqua County this weekend. Whether you're listening in between classes or on your break at work, it's no secret the weekend is here, and I'm here to tell you what's going on in your neighborhood this weekend. So let's get started. Tomorrow, as part of Little Siblings Weekend, WOW Fredonia will be showing the movie The Princess and the Frog from 11 p.m. till 1 a.m. in McEwen 209. Bring your little siblings, friends, or sweet mates to see a fun-filled Disney fairy tale that all are bound to enjoy. That's the showing of the movie The Princess and the Frog tomorrow night at 11 in McEwen Hall 209, put on by WOW Fredonia. Also happening this upcoming weekend, the Spectrum Entertainment Board will be holding auditions for the first ever Fredonia's Got Talent competition. Can you juggle, dance, sing, or do something incredibly unique? Think you're better than Susan Boyle? Then why not try out for Fredonia's Got Talent? The deadline to register is this upcoming Monday at 4 p.m. Auditions will be held Wednesday, March 3rd and Thursday, March 4th. A few talented people will be chosen to compete for the show, which will be held on Wednesday, March 10th at 8 p.m. Registration forms can be found in the Campus Life office and must be returned to the Spectrum office no later than Monday at 4 p.m. That's Fredonia's Got Talent auditions, being held Wednesday and Thursday, but registration forms are due by Monday at 4 p.m., so get on that. Guest speaker Amber Madison, a well-known sex author and educator who has appeared on NBC's Today Show and MTV News and featured in the Boston Globe, will be coming to campus on Monday in the Horizon Room of the Williams Center from 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. A dinner will be provided, followed by a presentation by Madison titled Hooking Up. It's all part of the Women's Student Union and Women's Studies program at SUNY Fredonia, presenting a month-long series of events for Women's History Month, which occurs annually in March. This year's theme is Revealing Positions on Sexuality. The event is free and open to the public. That's guest speaker Amber Madison, a well-known sex author and educator, on Monday from 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. in the Horizon Room of the Williams Center as part of Women's History Month, which starts on Monday. Now turning to some community news. Happening tonight, it's Dunkirk's Dunks for donations at the Dunkirk High School Gymnasium. It's all to benefit the Odell family. 7 children who unexpectedly lost their mother in November and now need financial assistance. There will be a children's carnival from 4:30 to 6 p.m. and a faculty basketball game featuring the middle school versus the high school from 7 to 9 p.m. The children's carnival is open to all children and is run by the National Honor Society. Each game will cost a small fee. Tickets are available for a very nominal fee at the door, Dunkirk City School locations, and Matt's News. Other donations will be accepted. That's Dunkirk's Dunks for donations at the Dunkirk High School Gymnasium to benefit the Odell family. Tonight starting at 4:30 and running until 9. And tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., a one-day choral workshop for high school and junior high singers will be held at Infinity Performing Arts Program Incorporated in Jamestown. This will be a one-day workshop for Jamestown and surrounding area school students who want to sing 4-part harmony a cappella. The workshop will be held at Infinity Studio, 115 East 3rd Street in Jamestown. Registrations will be taken at the event, but it is encouraged that students register early in order to provide them time to become familiar with the music. Registration for this event is very nominal. With registration, you will receive the workshop, lunch, dinner, and a commemorative t-shirt. For additional information, you can visit www.senecaland.org or call Jamie Bell at 716-499-9594. That's the Acapella Students Workshop being held tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Infinity Studio in Jamestown. Well, that's all I have for this week's event calendar update. If you would like your event to be listed on next week's show, call the station at 673-3420 or go to FredoniaRadio.com. For High Noon Friday, it's Keith Kropsky, the weekend guy, signing off. Portions of programming are brought to you in part by Colossus Pizzeria. Located on 30 Water Street in downtown Fredonia, Colossus offers a variety of menu items ranging from pizza to garbage plates. Colossus Pizzeria is open 7 days a week, Sundays 2 p.m. to midnight, Monday through Wednesday 4 p.m. to midnight, and Thursday through Saturday 4 p.m. to 3 a.m. for all you late-nighters out there. Pickup and delivery orders may be placed by calling 716-672-7744. That's Colossus Pizzeria at 30 Water Street in downtown Fredonia. You may place your order today by calling 672-7744.
Western New York's one and only variety radio show. High Noon Friday.
All right, we are back here on High Noon Friday on WCVF 88.9 FM and WDVL 89.5. Time for this week's Hot Topic.
Yeah.
Which
is
a little ironic because we hear the flames in the background.
Maybe not the best choice.
Oh, and we
Too
have
soon.
board
Too
operator Judd Heusler joining us.
Yes. It's
Thank
my
you for
first
joining us.
time discussing topics that are hot.
Okay, well,
Oh, no pun intended.
Wow,
this
is
week's
a bad topic.
I know,
This is
I know.
horrible.
I feel kind of bad now, but this week's hot topic is the fire that occurred in downtown Dunkirk on Central Avenue, the old Masonic building that happened Wednesday night, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you guys think about that? Have you heard anything new about it? Have you seen the building, anything like that?
Well, I've seen just the news reports. It was a crazy huge fire
Mhm.
of everything I saw. It's first off, it was a giant 4-story building.
Yes.
Which is a complete loss, and I believe they were going to demolish it either yesterday or today.
They
so
started,
obviously,
I believe they started demolishing it.
yeah, so
yesterday.
obviously it was a huge fire if they have to demolish it, within a couple of days. But scary, glad that everyone got out safe, and there was only one minor injury to a firefighter who it was like very minor.
Mhm.
So as for as big as it was, and them having, I think, like 10 different fire departments there for all of the 100 plus firefighters who are there to have no injuries is great.
Right. I was actually, I was able to see the building that Wednesday night, and I noticed that we had gotten there a few hours after it had been burning because that fire burned for a very long time.
Yeah.
And so I saw that the roof had collapsed, and by that time the first floor had also collapsed. And this is a very, like Judd said, this is a very large, entirely brick building.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, there were bricks falling everywhere. We saw, when we got there, it must have been about 10 o'clock at night, and there was at least still 3 ladder trucks and maybe 4 other fire engines still there.
Was there still like flames and everything?
And you could see flames. It was not bellowing out of the fire or out of the building, but you could see flames like inside through windows that had been broken and things like that.
That's 5+ hours after it supposedly
Mhm.
started.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do they know how it started?
I heard yesterday. I think it might be electrical, but that was just a preliminary. Yes,
it's still under investigation.
Yeah, but I mean that's a pretty good theory. I mean, especially if it's an old building.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there were people inside at the time, but not many. I believe there was like a dance class going on at the time that was canceled.
They
and
said
then
with
everyone
something
got
like
out.
46-year-olds, but everyone got out.
Yeah. There was a bunch of little kids inside, but that was also on the first floor. So, I mean, it's a shame that happened.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
All right, well, today's High Noon Friday segments were produced by members of Fredonia Radio Systems and the Digital Audio Production class.
High Noon Friday was operated by Judd Heusler, produced by Erica Wolfling with help from executive producer Keith Kropsky. News was written by Erica Wolfling, and segments were produced by members of Fredonia Radio Systems.
As always, tune in next week at noon on WCVF 88.9 FM and WDVL 89.5 for us in High Noon Friday.
Please do it for us.
Yes.
All
All right. Well, I'm Jessey Drake.
And I am Logan Howard. This has been High Noon Friday.
Fredonia and all of northern Chautauqua County, this is WCVF 88.9 FM, The Voice.
In-kind support for WCVF comes from the Talking Phone Book. Family owned and operated for over 35 years, the Talking Phone Book publishes more than 50 telephone directories in 11 eastern states and is the only regional directory to cover the entire Lakeshore area. The Talking Phone Book produces directories featuring money-saving coupons. Complete